Joining us now on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline from across the pond is our international football beat reporter, Dennis Pitta, All-American at BYU, Super Bowl champion. Dennis, what's the weather like in London right now?
Hey guys, it's a little chilly out here right now, to be honest. It's in the high 50s, low 60s, but sun's shining. It's a lovely day out here.
What's the best thing you've done in London thus far?
Well, we took a red eye last night.
Okay.
And we're supposed to sleep on the plane. I don't sleep well on planes, and I didn't get a comfortable lay-down seat like all the players did. I've been, moved to the back of the plane in my new role. So I didn't sleep too well. So I got into London, and I've taken a couple naps here in my hotel room. That's about the extent of my London trip so far.
Okay.
Well, see, for those that may not know, you're in London as part of the Ravens broadcast team, Ravens taking on the Jaguars. Had you ever been to London before this?
I haven't. This is my first time, and I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun. We're going to do a little sightseeing later today and tomorrow. But, we're out here. We're calling the game on Sunday versus the Jaguars. Should be fun. I was actually contemplating doing this entire interview with a British accent, but I was working on it, and it didn't come off too well.
Can you give us a taste?
I scrapped it last second.
Will you give us a taste of what it was going to sound like?
No. I bet you have a good British accent, though, Spencer. Let's hear yours.
Hello, Dennis. Joining us from across the pond. I'm better at my Scottish accent. Dennis, what do you think of the BYU Cougars and how they're playing football right now?
That is pretty good.
That is an impressive Scottish accent for sure.
Okay.
I was watching a lot of DuckTales, I think is what that was.
Well, actually, it's from So I Married an Axe Murderer, if you've ever seen that movie. Dennis, while you're in London, you're still keeping tabs on BYU football, obviously, and like the rest of us have had almost a week to kind of digest what happened against a really good Wisconsin team. What is your take on the overall state of BYU football right now? Like, are you hitting the panic button? Where are you?
Well, fortunately, it's a bye week this week. I don't know if I'd be able to get the game here in London tomorrow, but so I lucked out in that department. But the state of the program is interesting right now. I know a lot of fans are probably not very optimistic about the season. One thing you have to understand is over these first few weeks, we've played some really good teams and teams in very good conferences. And so you look at LSU. I know what they did a week ago against who was it? Mississippi State. Yeah. Didn't look too pretty, but when they played us, I think it's still a very good football team. And certainly a team with a ton of talent. And you look at Wisconsin, I mean, could they have played a better game offensively against us? I don't think so. And they're going to be one of the top teams in the Big Ten when all is said and done. So you have to look at the strength of schedule over these first 4 weeks and understand that, the back end of the schedule is not going to be nearly as difficult as those first 4 games were. And so I think everybody needs to take just kind of a deep breath. And this bye week, I think, will help, especially, for those within the program, players and coaches, to take a look at everything very closely, understand what was working, what wasn't. I think we're all concerned about the offense, and Ty Detmer and Coach Kalani are going to take a hard look at those specific things and see where we can maybe tailor things more to our personnel and what we can throw out and what we can move forward with. And so this is a big bye week for this program, and I heard you guys mention Utah State being a linchpin game, and I completely agree with that.
Last week, Tanner Mangum did not start. He's injured. Beau Hodge got the start at quarterback for BYU. Cougars didn't throw a ton. He did throw 2 picks. But overall, I think the impression was pretty good for Beau Hodge. What did you see from him?
Well, Beau is a good player, and he made some really good throws in that game, used his legs effectively, I think, in spots. But overall, his inexperience showed a little bit, and you saw that in a couple of those interceptions, trying to force some throws downfield. He's going to be a good player with time, but, how much time is he really going to get? When is Tanner going to be back in the lineup? And so certainly things to, be hopeful for with Beau Hodge, sorry. There's a Beau Tanner, too, right? I'm mixing up names.
Yes.
But, hopefully, Tanner can get back in the lineup and provide some consistency for this offense. The last thing you want to do with a struggling offense is now have question marks at quarterback. Who's going to be playing, who isn't. And so it'll be interesting to see how healthy Tanner is coming out of this bye week.
Now, we are assuming that Beau Hodge will be the starter against Utah State. We don't know for sure because BYU is not announcing the length or, I guess, severity of injuries unless it's a season-ending one. But if Beau Hodge is the quarterback in Logan against Utah State, what do you expect this BYU offense to do against the Aggies?
Well, I think you have to really tailor this offense to Beau's strengths, and that's obviously his running ability. I think get him short, quick throws where he can get the ball out of his hand quickly, where he's got decisive reads. You don't want him dropping back and having to go through multiple progressions. I think you want to get him on the move with some play action, zone read stuff. Do some things to kind of mix it up. And we saw a little bit of that in the Wisconsin game. I'd like to see a lot more of that and kind of scrapping the traditional offense that we've seen over the last few weeks.
Dennis, what are realistic improvements that can happen in a week's time?
You could see drastic improvements. I mean, you look at football as a whole, from the NFL to college football, teams change dramatically on a weekly basis. I've been doing a lot of prep work for this Jaguars game, and you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars in particular. Week 1, they came out and defensively had 10 sacks, shut down the Texans, looked tremendous, ran the ball effectively. They came out week 2, got 1 sack, gave up 37 points in a blowout loss at home to the Titans. I mean, those are two very different teams from week 1 to week 2. And we're trying to figure out what Jacksonville Jaguars team we're going to see this week. And so you look at football as a whole, so much improvement can be made from week 1 to week 2. So much, issues can be created, and injuries play a part of that from week to week. And so it's an interesting game, and I think with time in this bye week to kind of look back and see what the strengths and weaknesses are of this team, a lot of improvement can be made.
Who's the best player on BYU's football team right now, Dennis?
I mean, I'll give you one from each side of the ball. It's difficult to say who's the best player when you're talking about offense and defensive football. I think they're very different.
Okay.
I would say defensively it's Fred Warner. I think we've seen him in a variety of roles, flying around the field, doing a lot of different things, and he's an NFL caliber guy. You can see that in the way he hits and the way he runs and some of the plays he's made. Offensively, I'm going to say Matt Bushman has been the most impressive to me. He's a guy who's been consistent over the first few weeks. He's made tough catches. He's been an outlet for quarterbacks. And, I actually was able to have a conversation with Matt just a few days ago over the phone. And, he's a guy that's eager to learn and get better at the position. He knows he's not a finished product yet. And so he reached out to me and wanted to see if I could give him any tips or coaching points. And we had a great discussion. He's a tremendous kid and somebody who has a very bright future in that program. And he's been impressive to me over the last few weeks.
Dennis Pitta joins us from London, international man of mystery, All-American and Super Bowl champion, calling the Jaguars-Ravens game as part of the Ravens broadcast team. When you look at the Utah State game, and I know this question gets made fun of a lot, but do you feel like this is a must-win for BYU if the Cougars are going to make a bowl game?
Well, I don't know that it's a must-win to make a bowl game. I think it's a must-win, for the state of this program right now and for the mental psyche of this football team. I think if you go into Logan and lose that game against Utah State, that's going to be difficult to overcome the remainder of the season. Confidence plays a big role in football. And you go up there and lose to a team that you really should beat, that's difficult to rebound from, especially the way this season has started. So, and one thing you have to realize, Utah State is not going to be, a pushover up there at their home field. And this is a team that was tied with Wisconsin, week 1 at halftime. And so a very capable team, not a team you can overlook, and certainly a game that BYU has to win.
Dennis, what's the latest on Bronson Kaufusi? Is there any update on his status with the Ravens?
Well, Bronson has been inactive for the first few weeks of the season. He's healthy. He's working hard. He's doing really well. We just have so many defensive linemen on this roster right now that he's having trouble finding the field. He's a tremendous player with a lot of upside and a player that the organization has a ton of confidence in. It's just a numbers game at this point, but with some injuries last week on the defensive line, he might be able to get a shot and be active this week and get in the game. So, Bronson's just kind of being patient. And I had a conversation with Bronson just last week, and, he was kind of frustrated that he wasn't active for a lot of these games. And I told him, listen, my rookie year, which this is essentially his rookie year because he was out all last year.
Right.
I said, I was inactive for a lot of games. I was the third tight end and, watched games in street clothes a lot from the sideline. And so I understand what he's going through, and it is frustrating. It's weird. You come from college where everybody's suited up, everybody's, ready and willing to play, and then you get to the NFL, you make the 53-man roster, and you can find yourself standing in street clothes, watching on the sideline, not given an opportunity to play. And so he's kind of going through that right now, but, he's staying positive, and he knows he has a bright future.
Dennis, great perspective on football, both at the NFL level and for BYU. We wish you many happy naps and some good sightseeing in London.
Thank you. The Scottish accent is throwing me off, but cheerio.
Thanks, Dennis.